Hi empaths, welcome back to another crystal reading. This week we have shapes in crystals. So the left is a pyramid shaped lapis lazuli. In the middle we have a tiger's eye angel, and on the right we have a jade elephant. So just tuning in to which one's drawing your eye. Notice how your energy wants to flow to that crystal. And then I'm going to tune into the crystal and read the energy coming off of it. Just feeling the energy flow from your eyes to the crystal. Right? Energy from the heart to your eyes to the crystal. And energy might spill over into another crystal, so check out all the readings to see if they resonate, or go to the timestamp and see and go right to the reading of the crystal you're resonating with now. All right, let's get started. Hi there to those of you that chose Lapis, the Lapis Lazuli Pyramid. It's a really great piece. Okay, let's tune in. What's coming in for anyone that chose a Lapis Lazuli? So what seems to be coming up is an addictive patterning to cope with maybe a pressure or a stress of a huge to-do list. This might be using food or even relationship, right? Escaping through relationship fantasy to avoid feelings of anxiety or stress that are coming with a long to-do list. This may also be something you've come through, right? And you're so as you are further along on the path than others, shining a light back to them and saying, this is the route I took. This is how I worked through some of these things, right? And speaking to their firefighter parts, right? Because it's a firefighter part that will come in to medicate an emotion that's unwanted. So whatever that coping strategy is or was for you, maybe you're looking to help other people going through this. This might present itself as an opportunity to shift careers, or maybe you're looking to change your career or job description to be more in alignment with purpose and contribution, right? The impact you want to have on others and the world. You may be on a twin flame journey, or a spiritual soulmate, however, it doesn't need a label, but this type of relationship where it's very spiritual in nature, it goes through phases, and it kind of doesn't come together in union until you're on purpose, right? Maybe there's a delayed relationship here and you're wondering, why have I not come in contact with this person? Or why hasn't right? Like maybe you've never not met the person yet, or have a spiritual connection to somebody and it's not in union because you're still figuring out purpose and getting on that path. And I'm not on a twin flame journey, so I can't speak from experience, but there are plenty of people that who do believe that's the journey they're on, and they have a lot of wisdom to share around that if you just research that. So you might identify with that. You might also feel that's part of your purpose to, right? Maybe you have a very strong ability to discern energy dynamics in relationship, or patterns, energy patterns in someone's field, right? Either chakra therapy work that's coming in where you can see where someone's out of alignment, and the behaviors and patterns that kind of come along with an exacerbated chakra or a deficient one, and you're able to guide people through that. I'm also seeing you writing, so writing's coming up. This can be for you to sort through ideas, or to sort of like a channeled writing. So it could be, you know, you discerning this new path through automatic writing, right? Coming into guidance that way. About your path, or it could also be you writing to share information about your path to other people. And that might be part of this career change. Helping other people discern. Giving other people the ability to discern by offering real information from your experience. This might be relationship oriented. Perhaps you're able to have this clear vision, right? This clear seeing for dynamics, energy dynamics, relationship dynamics, right? Helping people discern whether they're on a twin flame journey or if it's a codependent experience, right? Or, you know, right? Because a lot of people are explaining away bad behaviors in relationship that they're receiving from a partner by saying this is a spiritual union, this is a spiritual connection, right? And they're putting up with a lot of stuff and holding on to something with this label. And maybe you're here to sort of bust through that and say this is what it actually is, and this is how it actually feels. And of course it will be different for each person, but don't explain away this addictive pattern through, right? By labeling it twin flame or even soulmate. Because that can just be a lesson. You learn and you move forward, right? To a healthier experience. Maybe this is something, you know, this idea for this path of helping people has been on your mind and your heart for some time, and you've been putting it off, right? Putting it off, and maybe going to your favorite coping mechanism, right? To numb these urges, these feelings of, I need to do this. This is important that I create this project or write this book or put my experiences down in writing to help other people. Maybe you don't even know what that's going to look like, and it's hard for you to envision it. Don't get too caught up in outcome. Just take the first step. Whatever you're guided to do, you're being divinely guided. So whatever you're being guided to do here, Take that first step, right? This might feel like it's really, really different than anything you've done before. And there might be this fear of, like, where did this come from? Like people's criticisms, or maybe even feeling like, what's that term? Like an imposter, right? Imposter syndrome, because this isn't something that you've done before. Know that we all go through it, right? We all go through, anyone who kind of steps up and gets on their path in purpose can walk through this imposter syndrome. So know that you might have to walk through some of that, and that's okay. That will work itself out. And that will also be something you'll be able to discern as you continue on this journey, on this path. And, you know, you don't have to if you're earning money from a current job or whatever, you don't have to quit that and then start on this new path. You can allow that to start to filter in, right? This calling. And I really am getting that you're speaking to people who want to find love or are on a spiritual path, and they want to find a spiritual connection or partnership where they feel that their partner is in alignment with their purpose and they're working together towards or with similar values, similar spiritual goals, values, right? A growth, a path of growth and healing, and contribution to the world through those experiences, and just a better quality relationship in general. And maybe they've been settling, or maybe they're comparing and their timeline's different. And maybe you have wisdom around that because you've come through it. And there are people that are waiting for your message, waiting for your light. So don't put it off anymore, right? Begin taking those steps, and you'll be guided along the way. You might not see the finish line, right? You might be guided one step at a time, but tune in every day and ask what action step is right for today. How do I get started here? And trust that each step will reveal itself, right? Just like with intuition, just like if you're doing divination or reading, you'll get that first symbol or whatever, and you kind of won't move on until you address that, right? It might show up that way. That might be why the writing's coming in as well. Julia Cameron teaches about creative recovery, right? Recovering from writer's block and all of that. Talking about morning pages. So getting in the habit of waking up and writing, automatic writing every morning. You're also really in touch with your subconscious in that headspace, right? And it starts your day fresh by getting all that stuff out. So 3 pages, right, in a notebook. And you don't have to revisit that, right? It's not something you have to come back and look at. You can if you want to, but it's really about getting any gunk out to start your day fresh, right? It's about a release here. And then that also gets you into the habit of writing. Right? It's like a practice. It's a spiritual practice. There's also this book that keeps coming in called Dear Lover. It's by David Daida, I think his name is. I think he's a tantric practitioner, if I'm not mistaken. I used to work in a metaphysical bookstore, so sometimes books will come in as guidance. But he wrote a book called Dear Lover, where he wrote letters to his ideal lover. I don't know if he was in partnership at that time, But he wrote these letters and he sold the book as therapy for women of how an ideal lover might speak to them, right? So it might be something like that. That might actually be something that's therapeutic for you if you're seeking a soulmate or significant relationship, romantic relationship. It might heal any residual effects from toxic partnerships from the past. It might be a way of releasing that. So consider that. Tune in and see if that resonates. Consider talking to the firefighter part in you that's currently medicating in whatever way that might be, right? It doesn't have to be a substance. It could be scrolling on social media. It can be watching videos. It can be whatever, however you sort of dissociate from what's going on, right? And avoid the feelings. Maybe this is part of what you're avoiding, and if you just address it, you'll find there's a huge release for you, a relief, and you'll no longer need the I was going to say unfair, which is interesting because it's unfair to you. This unfair patterning where it's sort of it's an overcompensation, trying to provide a self-soothing and relief, but it's creating more of a problem, right? It's just compounding the problem and maybe delaying the healing. And maybe that's why procrastination was coming up too. So maybe getting in touch with this firefighter part and say, what are you afraid of? What are you afraid I'll feel, right? Or what are you afraid will happen if I feel that feeling? Because that's what a firefighter part does. I'm talking about an internal family systems model of healing. I do some of that work with clients one-on-one. A firefighter is a protector part. There are managers who prevent us from feeling certain things by having patterns in place, right? And then there are the firefighters who, once we start to feel something, it's the reactive part, right, to stuff feelings. So, or whatever the fear is, right, whatever. So the firefighter might overeat, right, or might fantasize to get out of reality, right? Some patterns are healthier than others, and some are more toxic. So if this applies to you, you already know what I'm talking about, right? You already know. I don't have to explain that further. So just getting in touch with that part. And then perhaps this writing exercise can help release a lot. And it might uncover this gift, right? Because that might be part of what you're covering up. A lot of times what we cover up is this this fear of our power, of our gift. It just isn't part of our self-identity, right? Or we've always been afraid of it, right? It was too much as a child. That's typical, right? In a lot of people's stories who have a gift, they were afraid of it and they ran from it in different ways. So know that there might be a trigger here, this fight, flight, freeze, or fawn response, right? So the freeze can be the dissociation for whatever that is we engage and indulge in. So just consider that. Part of your path may be to help other people that are walking this path as well. To look at these patterns of self-sabotage and even maybe understand partnership, conscious relationship, right? It's coming in that we just went through Venus just went retrograde. If you're watching this, soon after I post this video, Venus just went retrograde. So this is a lot about revisiting past relationships, right? Past partners coming back into our experience. This might be something you're dealing with now. So it might already be on your radar. Just remaining aware, because if that's the story right now, this time might be important in informing this change in career and your contribution. Whether it be telling your story, right, writing your story for others to relate to and heal with you through, relate to, learn from, right? Learn from your experiences, or you might actually end up working with people around that, as you have a very heightened sense of seeing energy dynamics and relationship dynamics, and guiding people that way. All right. I hope that resonated. The time is now to take the first step, whatever you're guided to do, right? Whether it be the morning pages or channeling in the morning, whether you record your voice talking, right? A lot of ideas are flowing through. So invest in that process for yourself. All right. I hope that resonated. Let me know in the comments. Watch the other crystal readings to see if they resonate. Like the video and subscribe to the channel. That's very valuable to me. And if you want a personal reading or session, or to donate to the channel to keep me going, that'll all be in the description as well. All right, I will see you in the next video. Bye, empath. Hi there to those of you that chose the tiger eye angel. Isn't that pretty? Let's tune in and see what messages want to come through. This is a little awkward to hold. Tiger eye angel. I'm already starting to feel like it's a little bit hard to breathe. Maybe not enough breathing room. Maybe you're really longing for some space right now. Like an inner child part. Inner child part that feels locked up, locked away, right? And this time, if you're quarantined with somebody, a lot of conflict can come up just simply because we don't have enough space, right? So medicine would be to find a way to create a little bit of space or distance, more time to yourself for tranquility, offering space to whoever you're quarantined with. This might be a partner, this might be family, this might be a child. How is that possible? How would that be possible to give a child space? If you have support and are able to do so, not neglecting your self-care time, right? We don't want to neglect the inner child. Right, because the neglected inner child, if we're not caring for ourselves and doing things to self-soothe, like taking a nice bath or meditating creating more internal expansion, whatever ways feel therapeutic for you personally. Taking a walk in nature alone, right? Whatever it is, whatever you're able to do, respecting the needs, right? Respecting your own needs will help resolve some of the inner conflict and conflict with others right now. Yeah, it feels like boundaries are being crossed. There's some conflict here. There's a question of respect, like respect my time, respect my space, or how do I get more respect? And it's this confined feeling. It's all because of this confined feeling. And it's creating this constriction internally as well, and triggering like this inner child part that felt trapped or cornered or powerless, right? So delivering the medicine of expansion, space, taking space, honoring your own needs and boundaries here, caring for the body, finding ways to unplug and be tranquil. Right, if you tune in now, can you get in touch with that part and hear it out? There's a part that may be creating some irritation or animosity or a heightened emotional state that feels charged, like it needs to be released. And oftentimes we're tempted to inject that into somebody else. Can we just get in touch with that part? Chances are that's the protector of this child, right? Of this inner child, right? There's a protector in place. We can get in touch with that part and show it respect and say, thank you for protecting me. Thank you for making sure I get respect, right? If that's the value. And then we want to ask it what it needs, what it's afraid of, and just get to know it, show it respect. If we were doing work together, we would address this part, right? And then kind of negotiate with it to unblend, because it's not who you really are. Who you really are is self with a capital S, right? Your higher self, the part that has a higher vantage point, or it's not a part, it's your true essence. It has a higher vantage point and it can see these parts for what they are, and help you unblend, bring expansion, bring light, hold this part, right? Whatever it needs, whatever's therapeutic. So we're looking at this wounding and it's really being triggered right now, right? And there might be a question here of how do I get more respect? Or why aren't my needs being respected? There might be an alignment, chakras coming out of alignment here as well. And this might be based on wounding as well, similar wound. Where if you identify with empath, right, or sensitive, intuitive, artist, you might notice, you might find that your sense of self isn't really defined solidly, right? There's not this solid sense of self that maybe your energy's a little more mutable. So there's conflicting needs. Okay. So there's conflicting needs. So there's a need to be seen and heard, and respected. But there's this also this need for connection. I think that's the human experience, right? But maybe those aren't in balance, or maybe they're not solid, because maybe you are affected with a highly sensitive system. Maybe you're influenced by the lunar cycles, right? Or you know, your mood, right? Or this ebb and flow of your emotional state. So maybe people don't know what they're going to get up front. Maybe you're also a visionary person, right? Maybe you are very artistic, a visionary, and you're often not really anchored down, right? Because you're in the ethers with energies and visions, and so there's not this solid sense of self to differentiate you from others, and maybe that's creating some suffering currently, right? Because you want that space to be able to connect. Oh, and that might be why we're looking at Tiger Eye here, right? The boundaries, the solar plexus, differentiation. And the confidence to speak those in a loving, authentic way, right? To speak the boundaries, or to just have to be mindful of your needs and take care of yourself without guilt, right? Maybe there's a rescuer tendency, and you live your life to help others, and you're experiencing a lot of compassion fatigue as there's not a lot of space and distance right now. Maybe you're bombarded with people who need you, and it's too much right now. Give yourself the space and time to experience tranquility, to do activities that are nurturing, self-soothing. Also, perhaps noting where the moon is in its cycle will be helpful to you. Maybe you're really in tune and influenced by the moon. Right, and knowing how it relates to your chart, right? If you have this sensitivity, it might be wise for you to know and keep track of that. Might also be moon cycle, if you're a woman of menstruating years. Knowing your cycle might be beneficial to you. Right, to sort of honor their needs of where you're at and what you're experiencing, because maybe it's hard for you to authentically express your needs and boundaries because they change. They're different with what you're going through. And that's okay too. So you taking care of yourself, and maybe this self-care and self-respect is something that you've been trying to figure out, right? To improve relationships, and relationship to self, and to feel like maybe there's part of you that judges that you aren't consistent, that you have ups and downs. But, you know, if you look at it objectively, there are pros and cons to everything. And maybe you're just looking at the weak points of having a sensitive system. And have you considered the strengths as well, right? What you can offer. Right? Because maybe that's weighing on your ability to respect yourself, to honor your limits. Maybe there's a tendency to overgive here or to rescue others. Right? That's a tendency of empaths. We heal others in lieu of healing ourselves. And maybe you're being called now to pull that in, that you're realizing that doesn't work. And maybe you find people show up and want to give you parts of themselves, and that's something you have to have a boundary around, right? They're like, will you take care of this for me, right? Right, they're looking for parental love in you, through you, and it's too heavy. When someone tries to, that's what soul retrieval is all about, right? Because when someone tries to give you a part of them to take care of, it becomes too heavy. It's not usable energy for you, and vice versa. If you give a part of yourself to somebody else to care for, it's the same feeling of heaviness, that same burden, right? So that's what soul retrieval is all about. In shamanic tradition, we do something similar when we work with internal family systems model of healing, right? Where we work with the parts internally. So if you need support around that, that's the type of work I do in the spiritual coaching, strategic revitalization, I call it. Yeah, learning self-care, self-respect by honoring your limits and acknowledging the authentic aspects of you, right? Not the overcompensations or the wounds, right? The behaviors based on wounds or the overcompensations from the feedback you've gotten from others, right? Or your erroneous beliefs about yourself not being enough, maybe, or so you feel like you have to overgive to prove that you are worthy, right, of being here, or that you matter in some way. We're looking at this and we're addressing it and healing it right now. Because that's a very young part of you. And when that comes in, you're regressing, right? You're regressing back to this wounded child who maybe felt like they were in the way, right? And so now that part is overcompensating. And we don't need to do that anymore, right? You're enough as you are. And when you really focus on your strengths and the benefits of your temperament and nature, and honor that, honor who you really are, it's a gift, right? You have a lot to contribute here, and that's what your soul is longing for, right? To get in touch with that contribution. What is it I'm here to do and offer the world? And we don't want that to be out of balance, right? Or the wound to speak louder. That's something I learned with my mentor as an empath. When I try to tune into my purpose or my business or whatever it is, I might be getting information for someone else because that's how my, because it's sort of an inside out experience for me as an empath due to my wound, right? Due to the wounding, I'm more in tune with other people's needs and energies. And that's something I'm looking to shift and heal and grow. And I continue to do so. it's a study for me. So that might be something that's kind of happening here, right? Where that's why maybe the rescuer's coming up. We're looking to rescue our own inner child by trying to prevent other people from having to go through that similar pain, because we know how bad it feels. But what would be the most helpful is to heal it in ourselves so that we can model and show them, right? Show them the way. Instead of coming out of ourselves to rescue constantly and using ourselves up, right? Really what you need right now is space from that, right? A little bit of solitude where you can get it, silence, right? Because perhaps your system's really overstimulated currently, as you have a sensitive system. And the tiger eye angel symbolizes protection, and that energetic boundary, which maybe you're working on strengthening currently, right? So if you need more support around that, check out my services, right? I hope that resonated. There was some medicine in there for you, right? Resensitize your system. It's overstimulated, perhaps. If you're feeling that irritability, right, that fight or flight response. Silence, EMF protection, if you can find it, right? Anything that, distance from your phone at night, things like that, right? You might be sensitive to radiation. You might also be sensitive to, or crystals, right, to help protect you from the EMFs or the radiation. Silence, solitude, right? Anything to help get your system out of the overstimulated state. A walk in nature, a soothing salt bath, whatever feels like, that sounds so tranquil, right? That's what's being called for right now. All right. I hope that was helpful. I hope there was some medicine there for you. Let me know in the comments if that resonated. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. That's really valuable to me. If you want a session or to donate to the channel, that'll be in the description of this video, right? Check out the other crystals to see if they resonate as well. I'll see you in the next video. Bye, empath. Hi there to those of you that chose the Jade Elephant. Isn't this cool? Love my Jade Elephant. All right, let's tune in and see what messages. So compassion for self is coming up as priority here. Self-sabotage is coming up. As far as flow of prosperity, you might be seeing reality as, right, there's this lens of seeing reality as you're blocked. Your flow of prosperity is being blocked currently, but tune in and notice, right? Like tune in right now and notice if there is an element of, when you think about prosperous flow, right? Prosperity flowing in perfectly, divinely, where do you feel that? How does it want to come in? Is there a block? What might be showing up is some form of guilt about a past, something you've done in the past, or a way of being or showing up that was never addressed. There were either no consequences for it, so it's something you carry guilt for because you weren't punished, right? Or there was no balancing. So it's like you're punishing yourself for it. This could also be ancestral. This could also be a legacy burden that we would call in internal family systems. If there was something in the past from your family, where you're carrying it in their stead, right? If an ancestor an example that's coming up, this might not apply, but just to demonstrate and illustrate how this can show up in the ancestral system, or in the in your system from the ancestors. I was once I studied family constellation therapy as a facilitator. I am a facilitator, and I was in class one, and I described my tendency to feel tired all the time, almost feel like I don't have a right to take up space, right? Lack of vitality and aliveness, right? And so a really experienced practitioner asked me, did you have any ancestors fight in a war and kill anybody? And I was like, yes, my grandfather, both of my grandfathers fought in World War II. And I know that one of my grandfathers did kill in the war, because, and then he went on to say he couldn't go hunting with my uncle, who asked him. Sorry, I know that's I didn't say that in order. I didn't tell that in order. I'm out of practice in telling that story, but because he killed in the war, when my uncle came to my grandfather and said, I really am interested in hunting, would you take me out hunting? And my grandfather said, I can never kill again. Like, I just can't have that experience again, but I'll send you to my brother so that he can teach you. He's a hunter. So anyway, so that wasn't really pertinent part of the story. Sorry. The pertinent part was my grandfather did kill in the war before I was born, right? And then what can happen is that guilt can travel, right? These things can travel in the family line. And so it can show up in later generations if not addressed. And for me, part of that burden showed up for me as not having a strong will, right, to be on this earth plane. Sometimes experiencing it as I'm not worthy of being here, and not knowing the source of that, right? Not really knowing the source of that. And just having this facilitator, this experienced facilitator, ask me that question illuminated something for me of all the possibilities and potentials. In internal family systems, something similar shows up, and we call that a legacy burden, right? You're carrying this for somebody, right, in the ancestral line. So you might want to tune in there, because this will affect your ability to prosper. So consider these things. Are you carrying guilt for the family, for an ancestor? You might have incredible ideas right now, entrepreneurial ideas, as far as your connection to crystals, either a crystal business, crystal healing, information about crystals, or you might find you're supported by the energy of crystals, right? Jade is known to support prosperity, as is citrine. Malachite is coming up as supporting you in processing out this emotional trauma and residual emotions, this guilt, helping you release this from your system. Taking the time to do a meditative crystal layout, right? And relaxing the system, allowing things to move through, move out, to be processed, so that you can come into a greater sense of self-acceptance as you are, knowing that you're here for a reason and there's purpose in this incarnation and that you matter and that you have a place here. This can be influencing the prosperity, as is bond to mother. So if there's a disrupted bond to mother, a break in the bond, I talk about this a lot, can affect your connection to provision. So looking at that, healing that, perhaps by working with the metaphor that life is a gift, doing a gratitude practice, having more gratitude for life in general, can heal relationship to mother. If that resonates, right? We can heal those parental relationships whether or not they're still alive, right? So, because I'm getting that, you're being endowed with some creative ideas right now, perhaps in building something, your own business or practice, and that prosperity and abundance wants to flow in. And maybe it is, and you're not recognizing how. Maybe it's not in the way you're expecting, or you're sabotaging it in some way, right? It's not that you're blocked. It's that maybe this guilt is creating some self-sabotage here, right? As an example, I used to have the tendency of giving a lot of stuff away for free, right? Not giving people the opportunity to pay or donate or whatever. And I found, give people the opportunity because don't shut off any avenue for prosperity if it wants to flow in. So maybe recognizing that for yourself. Oh, okay. And also not putting your money fears on others, right? Or your limitations on others, right? Worrying about their finances for them. Letting them handle and manage their finances and not letting that be your business. If this is how much you charge for service or product or whatever it is, that's how much you charge. And the people that can afford it will pay, right? And if they find value in it, they'll pay for it. Don't assume that people need a discount or whatever, right? If you're in a place where you can offer that, that's a different story. But if you're not, if you're not thriving, you're not doing anyone any favors. So consider ways that you're doing that, right? Where you're worrying about other people's finances for them. Charge what you charge and own that. Own that. Own the value, right? And if you're in a place, if you come to a place or are in a place where you can offer a discount or whatever, that's a different story, right? But there's power in cutting through these erroneous beliefs, or just noticing patterns like, oh, okay, that's how I'm sabotaging myself, right? It's their business if they can afford it. You're not giving people an opportunity to value something What else is, something else is coming in is the way elephants see us. I think someone noted that the same areas in an elephant's brain light up when they see us, when they say humans, as humans' brains light up when they see, I think, a baby or a dog or something like that, like a beloved pet. So they think we're very cute. That's a video that's going around on Facebook. So I don't know if that's scientifically sound, but something like that. Like, so seeing how you're seen through divine eyes, right? And because that's similar to the way a higher power sees you. And you're being encouraged to see yourself in those eyes, right? That you were created to learn from experiences here. So mistakes are part of the human condition. And if you learn from them and grow, then they served a purpose, right? Carrying around guilt will not, right? It will limit you, it will sabotage you. So what needs to happen for this to shift, right? Does an apology need to be made? Do you need to forgive yourself? Do you need to hand back the guilt and the burden, or unburden to a higher power, right? This is what penance is for in religion, right? I was raised Catholic, so I don't know about other religions, but we would pray, right? Act of contrition, Hail Marys, Our Fathers. We would pray. What's necessary for you here to feel unburdened, to forgive yourself, to accept yourself, flaws and all, right? You're a human being. Self-acceptance is being called for here. So consider what crystals might support you. I am getting malachite. Jade might be a good one if you're drawn to the jade elephant. Working with elephant as a spirit animal, with the energy it provides. Right, because I get that you're building a legacy here and you want to start on solid ground, and that can't be, the guilt and lack of self-acceptance might be creating shaky ground. So we want to create structure for the prosperity and the consciousness of money to flow into. So we got to be on the ground, right? We got to be connected and anchor it down. So consider that. How is that happening? And it just turned 11:11 on my clock when I'm recording this. So there's something to that alignment, right? Alignment, stability, structure, being grounded, creating the structure for the consciousness of money to flow, and tuning into it. How does it want to flow in? And noticing any areas of the body where that flow is disrupted and addressing it. Be with it, observe it, explore it, right? Explore it, right? Maybe this guidance that's coming in about you building something is about building this solid foundation and structure for prosperity to flow in. And really doing a lot of shadow work, right? Making friends with the shadow. Maybe there's parts of you that you're afraid of, that you don't trust. Explore that, get in touch with that. Learn to accept all parts of you, because the shadow will help protect you, right? The shadow will keep you safe. We don't want it out of balance, and we don't want it pushed aside, because then we kind of lose control. So shadow work, which is what we do in Journey Through the Tarot, right? We work with the archetypes of each card. Right, because there might also be guilt around, particularly if you're on a spiritual path, around earning money. Right, that's in the collective. I have to work through that too. It's in the collective here. When you're on a spiritual path, you might find you're constantly guilted for considering finances. And hello, that's part of this experience. We all need that to survive. So unless you figured out some other paradigm where we don't need it, we all have to consider that. So putting that in check, right? Making yourself a little more immune to those criticisms, just accepting that that's our reality here, and that my survival and my security is a valid concern for me, and I will honor that need, and I accept that that's part of this experience. So maybe that's part of it too. Maybe there's power in that acceptance, right? Because we're often given, we often buy into wisdom that isn't medicine for us, right? For example, being raised Catholic and on a spiritual path, I got the message, sacrifice, right? Sacrifice yourself, sacrifice your worldly needs. And it just doesn't make a lot of rational sense. You know what I mean? It's like, well, I'm having a human experience and my body has needs. I need to pay for food. I need to pay rent, right? So, you just think maybe some of this is outdated and I'm still holding on to it. So maybe there's some of these irrational beliefs that need to be sorted through, worked through, explored, and released, replaced, right? So and the self-forgiveness is coming up again. So what is that? Explore what that might mean. I have a feeling if that has meaning for you, you're already in touch with that. What do you need to forgive in yourself? Or is there guilt you're carrying in someone's stead? Consider that. It can be unburdened. It can be unburdened. We would do that work together in a coaching session. So if that's something that would be medicine for you, check out my services in the description of this video. But if you tune in, it might come to you, right? Because you might find that you're on this trajectory due to some of these things you're carrying. And once you kind of put them down or release, unburden, come back to self, right? Get a stronger sense of self, accept yourself as you are here. A lot of the things that were driving you before don't apply anymore, and your true path may be revealed, as all this overcompensation and sabotage is cleared out off the path, right? Your true north will be recalibrated, right? I hope that resonated. I hope there was some medicine there for you. Reach out if you need support. Links will be in the description of this video. Thanks for liking the video, letting me know if it resonated in the comments, and subscribing to the channel. That's really valuable to me. If you're able to donate, energy exchange donation link. Also, if you're interested in your own reading or session, that's also in the description of this video. And check out the other crystals to see if there's messages there for you. Wishing you much love and self-acceptance. All right, I'll see you in the next video. Bye, empath.